A very good evening to you and welcome to Powerbrief. This being the 4th day of the month of February, the year 2021. And tonight we take another direction that is focusing on the BBI at the county assemblies. And we are lucky enough to have 3 advocates of the High Court of Kenya who are going to help us to look into this matter, the legal and political implications, and whether it has followed the right channels of the law. Tonight we are joined by Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, who is the MP for Ndaragwa and is also the chairman of Constitutional Implementation and Oversight Committee in the National Assembly. We are also joined by Celestine Njagi, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Mr. Philip Mwangale, who is a leadership and governance consultant and also has a background in law and also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, will also be with us, taking us through these hot debates. Remember, this conversation is also live on our Facebook page, CAC TV Kenya. YouTube is CAC TV Kenya. And briefly, let's look at some of the events that happened during the week at the county assemblies and also meetings between party leaders and the members of county assemblies. And our number for SMS is 22167. Mheshimiwa Celestine and Mr. Philip, welcome to Powerbrief tonight.
Thank you.
It is the first time for Celestine to be here. Philip has been here several times, and also Mheshimiwa has been here several times. Before we get at those videos, there's something that happened in Kisii at the beginning of this week. And today morning, the former Prime Minister defended Simba Arati, saying that he was defending himself. Where are we, Mr. Philip, as a lawyer and also as a leadership and a governance consultant? Where are we actually on matters cohesion and integration and that respect where someone is called Mheshimiwa, looking into the event that happened during the week?
Thank you for having me, Cornelius. What happened in Kisii was unfortunate. And right now when we start taking sides on who was right, who was wrong to approach the podium, or if Simba Arati was right to speak in the manner that he did, I think we will be approaching it in the wrong manner. I think both of them were at fault. Both sides were at fault. First, I would fault Simba Arati and really politicians, because we have made funerals and places that are specifically designed for certain purposes as our podiums for political addresses. That was a funeral. It was unfortunate that it turned out into a political rally. And the other unfortunate bit is that we seem to enjoy it. It's not like the mourners were not willing to hear the politicians. They were actually excited. So it was not a good show of leadership from those 2 individuals who were members of parliament. We saw the NCIC come out and shame, and they named in a bid to shame the 2 individuals amongst others. But for me, the drums of war that we are beating now, it is incidental that these 2 individuals come from the same tribe. What would have happened if they were not from the Kisii community? If, for example, the person, if Osoro, for example, was from the Kalenjin community, it would be disastrous. So I think my urge to our political class is to be very tolerant. It is to urge them to watch the manner in which they speak, because you might have a valid point to pass across, but the manner in which you pass it across, because you're speaking to a multitude, is also very important.
Thank you, Celestine, on your part. Before we get to Mheshimiwa, to also tell us whether it's time now they're going for trainings for more karates, or it's something that should not be happening.
Thank you, Cornelius, for having me. First of all, I want to fault the political class, because these are people the society is looking up to. They are called leaders for a reason. You're leading to a certain direction. But what is this direction? If we're fighting at the top, what are we expecting at the bottom? If tribesmen are going to fight, what about those who are not tribesmen? And then we can now see what is happening even in the schools. You know, at the top, the leaders are fighting. here the schools, the children are burning down schools. That is the message we are passing. We are being tolerant of all that is wrong, especially for leaders to fight during a funeral. You're coming to condole. You're not coming here to fight and settle your political scores. It's at the wrong place. And I do not think that leaders are actually now divorcing what is politics, what is when you're supposed to be at a certain place, what are you supposed to do here. I think you've been invited to a solemn event. Be there for that family. Don't come and settle your political score there.
Thank you, Celestine. Mheshimiwa, from your end also.
One is that it is always very interesting and very it's a great honor to always sit in a panel where you have young people, because you learn many things and you see things from a different perspective, like the one that has just been brought up by Celestine, the example that we are even setting to those in schools. And I think we in the leadership positions need to also sit back and listen and hear, because at times we are told that when your mouth is open, it means that you are not listening. But I think the other group that needs to be perhaps called to order is the leadership in the church. They know that the political temperatures in the country are rising, and they have continued to, avail these platforms to even very aggressively opposing sides, having them in the same sitting. Fine, this was a burial, and you can't come different days. But you'll find that this happening even during fundraising activities. The church is more concerned about the amount of money that is being brought and retro about the decorum. And I think it is time that the church also takes its position. They now know that given the very divisive kind of political positions that we've taken, there's likely to be exchange of words. And I think it is important for them to be in charge. But if I am the one who has been available to you often with some money for reasons that maybe you are doing a church, you need to buy a vehicle, you need to buy something else, public address, and you need a month or something. If all these things, I have been a major contributor, a major fundraiser for your church, then you will find it very difficult for you to tell me that I'm not going to allow you to speak in my church, or even if you take to the podium, make sure that you stay out of politics, because you become a co-owner. And I think some of these things are to blame for where we are. Not, of course, to mention that even the institution like the one for Reverend Kobia, I sympathize with him, because if he's not careful, it is really another toothless institution that will come and give us a list of shame. But if the list of shame makes me more popular, there are those who will be earning to be on that list. I can tell you today we have members of parliament who were elected on the account on how much they were able to insult Raila Amolo Odinga last time. And we have young people who have also, you can see from the social media, they've really caught up in terms of how much can they insult the other. Because in insulting, you become popular, and you are even eventually rewarded with an elective position. So I want to say that it is very crucial to fight. Of course, allow me to just say that restraining is crucial. I see where the Prime Minister is coming from. He is now looking at it from the point, who aggressed the other. Fine, I can keep throwing words to you, but the person who throws the first punch, or the one who goes out to, that will be the other now angle of looking at it perhaps from a legal point of view. But this is not a good example at all.
Many thanks. Now we come into tonight's topic, Mr. Philip and Wakili Celestine, and also Mheshimiwa, concerning the BBI now going to the county assemblies. I want to see the footing, the entry strategy. How has it gone there? Let's just see how the members of the county assemblies received this report.
When Baba speaks, When he tells us go right, we always go right. He says go left, we are always on the left. And this time around, he has spoken about the BBI. I can 100% assure you that Nairobi County is going to deliver, and leave alone delivering in the assemblies. But I can assure you, we are going to win during the referendum in the county of Nairobi.
And we are the only non-gazetted barracks in Kenya. We want to assure you, Baba, that it is true. We have been watching these people and we've seen what they are doing. So we want to call upon all those who are in contact with Baba's program that please now rope us in. We are ready. We have eaten for 3 years. Now we want to come and fight with them. Let's ensure that we get the car grant and leave the rest to us. Thank you very much.
Swala ya car grant yaliwekwa kwa meza. Masaa ya car grant yaliwekwa kwa meza. And the president has already issued a directive on the car grant. Has already issued a directive on the car grant. Kuna ile loan. See, we took the car loan of 2 million. So that car loan will be transmuted into the car grant. Completely. Sasa tunangojea tu paperwork. Tunangojea logistics za COB, za SRC, you know. Now we are just waiting for the logistics. But that will be done.
So if the MPs receive 7 million shillings car grant, why should it be a crime to give the same to MCAs? Why should it be a crime? Because you are the ones who are in daily contact with the electorate, with the daily contact with the people. And I know it because whenever I go to the rural areas, by 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, my home is full with the people.
Now, the learned fellows, the 2 gentlemen and 1 lady, that's what happened. Chebukati sent the report to the county assemblies. That's how it was received. You can see one part talking of when so-and-so speaks, we don't have any objection, we just pass it. And then the issue of the car grants came up. You can hear Priscilla Nyokabi affirming that indeed the president is going to cooperate. And Raila himself, even after having talked to the doctors, the medics, telling them that understand the capacity or the position that the government is in, right now is talking of let also the members of county assemblies be given something. Beginning with you, Mr. Philip, do you think the BBI has got the right footage in the county assemblies from these discussions that we're just seeing on the screen?
I think for me, BBI in the county assemblies will not really be anything to discuss about, especially in the assemblies, for this reason, that there will not be any reasonable discussions on that bill. BBI passing in the county assemblies will be a breeze, for this added reason, that the county assembly members, the MCAs, are not passing the bill because they have analyzed it, because they have come to a conclusion that that is what the country requires. As you can note from the sentiments from the MCAs from the ODM party, for them passing the constitutional amendment bill would be a reward to their benefactors, because Raila Odinga has said this thing must go through, then it must go through. Of course, there is the sweetener of the car grant, which again is something that personally I do not feel is something that is justified. You cannot argue that because members of parliament have been receiving car grants, so we can also give the MCA's car grants on that ground. I again have issues on why we should give members of parliament car grants, and I will say this to the chagrin of Mheshimiwa here, because but I think because other civil servants, you know, have access to a car loan, I think we all public officers, including members of parliament and MCAs, should be given that you know, same privilege, as opposed to the car grant that again costs the taxpayers money. So the bill passing in the county assemblies will not be a matter of reasonable consideration. It will not be about the bill. It will be about the prevailing constitutional political circumstances. We saw in Siaya the other day, within 2 hours, it was done. And you could tell from the submissions by the MCS that it had nothing to do with the contents of that bill. It had everything to do with the political tune that they are playing. And it's very unfortunate, by the way, because I personally do not subscribe to the BBI constitutional amendments, but it would have been important for the sake of the Kenyan who will go to the referendum that the MCAs actually deliberate on this bill thoroughly, because they are the first representatives of the people at the county level. So if we do not have that, then we would just breeze through this process, go to a referendum, and given our political landscape, it will be our politicians who will be going down to the people and telling them, this thing passed the counties, by the way. It has the support of the whole country, so just pass this thing. So for me, it's unfortunate. I wish that the remaining county assemblies would deliberate on this bill thoroughly, but that is my wish. It is my hope, but my expectation is different. My expectation is that they will not.
Thank you. Celestine, looking at the timing of this debate of the car grants, yes, it was here before when the president met the MCAs still at the Sagana. That demand was put on the table, though it wasn't met. It has come up one more time. There are those who hold the opinion that the timing is suspect, but there are those ones who are actually saying that this is the only time that if you want to milk a cow, then you ensure that you present to it some napier grass or those ingredients that the cow needs. Do you agree with that notion also, or you feel MCAs are just right, and also Raila, and also from Nyokabi sentiments, all is well?
There are some things here that the MCAs should actually even first appreciate. A presidential directive does not transmit to a law, or it does not mean that the SRC must follow whatever has been said. In fact, this is just a thing to excite the MCAs. If you actually check, you see that there is the County Government Act that actually says that if there is any financial gain by the sitting MCAs, it's not the ones who are going to reap. When it is promised, it is those who will be elected in the next general elections. So this is just a mere path. MCAs should be able to see beyond that. And at the same time, it's human nature. It is an opportune time for the president to tell this to the MCAs. I mean, they're the first people who will be coming into contact with things on the voting. But first, what are the MCAs doing? Are they even considering the public participation? Because as we give the example of Siaya, for example, the public participation was done. They say after the 7 days that it was done, 7 days only, and then during one day where they met for the public participation, and then the next day they go and pass the bill. We are not divorcing issues and politics. The BBI might be a good document, but because if I say yes, I'm supporting, we will say the dynasties, yeah? If I say no, I am supporting Tanga Tanga, we have lost it. We do not know whether is it BBI we are supporting or are we supporting individuals. That is what we should actually think about. This is what MCAs should be thinking about. It is the content that we need to know. What are we opposing? Because most people are opposing. They don't even know what they're opposing. They're opposing, as long as I'm opposing Tanga Tanga, then I am not pro BBI, and they don't know what BBI is. As long as I'm supporting it, I do not even know what I'm accepting, but have accepted it anyway because the person of my choice has said yes, and that is the wrong footing.
Now here we have someone who is in charge of implementing and also oversighting the Constitution of the National Assembly, and this process is at a very crucial stage. Mr. Philip will agree, and also you, Celestine, will agree that this is a place that Ekuru Aukot process died. It didn't proceed to another level. Maybe today we could be talking of another thing, but it actually didn't pass at that level. Mheshimiwa, I don't know the mechanisms that your committee and also other stakeholders, you the proponents of this document, if you've put enough structures, enough strategies in place to ensure that there is enough public participation, that indeed even if this thing passes through the window windows of the 24 county assemblies when it comes to the national level, where most people are alluding that it will go through, that it will now just pass after having gone through the people and having satisfied all the requirements, ama ni ile mbio tu ya kusatisfy what is to happen?
Thank you, and I would want to say that sweeteners aside, and all those inducements that will come with the process, because they are about to be many. All those things, even if kept aside, and they should be kept aside in terms of the debates, because if we concentrate on those issues again, it will just be where Celestine was saying, that we lost this debate because it's more of, are you with the two, I don't want to use those terminologies, I hate them. But are you supporting X for President 2022 or Y for President 2022? And we have lost the content of the document because we have allowed our minds to concentrate more on the eventual or perhaps the outcome of 2022. So my urging of the Kenyans is that even keep aside the sweeteners. You can deal with the sweeteners when it comes to 2022, because that is when you'll be dealing with the individual. As why did you do this? Was it because you were given this, or was it because you reasoned this way? That you can leave it for 2022. But for now, it is a very, very crucial moment that we have as a country. We have a document that changes a key character of the 2010 Constitution. And it's mainly that we are moving away from a presidential system of governance to a parliamentary system of governance. More, not really parliamentary, but we are moving away where we had the clear separation of powers to where we'll again have quite some heavy overlaps. And as we move towards that, Kenyans need to really engage on it and understand what it is that is being offered to them. I support the shifting from presidential to this MOGRA, because we've tried it before, it has served us better, and it is certainly going to serve us better. And I think it is it's very important to look at the benefits that are coming out of this constitution. And having been in the 2010 constitution making process, having been a part of those 27 member committee that sat at Naivasha, this is one of the key areas that we quite were not, none of the two sides, the PNU, DM then, none of us left Naivasha happy that we've taken this pure presidential system. But since we were negotiating, we had to arrive at something, and we had a limited number of days. The process that we are following is provided for in the Constitution. The county assemblies have 3 months, 90 days, to deal with the process that is before them. And remember, this is a popular initiative. It's an initiative coming from the masses, with some promoters in the name of the president and the former prime minister. So it's a really involving process. We will argue about public participation back and forth, the role of the county assemblies. But you see, once the bill is out, I think this is very important for people to know, and the bill is out, there is no room to amend it. You can only throw it away in total or accept it as it is. And that is what is provided for in the Constitution. And I want to say that it's unfortunate that there are some people who sound like they have some good ideas, but I wonder where they were for 2 years, because this process has been going on since March of 2018. And there was that opportunity to improve it and the rest. But that window seems to have been closed. The day we obtain signatures, it's dead.
But remember,
now we are now
just
with
to cut you short, Mheshimiwa, at
yes.
some point, the people you are talking of that they had the opportunity, they've been coming out to say that they have been sidelined all through.
I can also say that you are about to sideline me here. that doesn't mean that you have. You know, it is a statement that you keep saying.
That's what they say.
And I tell you,
Yes.
After the first report of BBI, another 3 months was given to the team, and they sat at KICC, and everybody who had an idea different from the original document was given an opportunity to go there. I went there again. I went there twice. Not as the chairman, but I went with ideas. And I can tell you some of the things that I actually proposed. I see them in the BBI. Not everything. There are many other issues that I feel we should not have lost. But we lost because, again, it's a negotiation, and there will be a BBI 2, BBI 3, BBI 4. And it doesn't mean that this is the end of the story. This is what we are doing now. Another moment will come. I think we need, but what I wanted to say is that we are now at the county assembly. From the county assembly, this document is going to come to Parliament. And I want to say that the key area, the key moment for this process, it's when we start now talking about the referendum. Because at the National Assembly, because it will come to the National Assembly, it will come to the Senate, it's like we will just be debating it. Whether we pass it or defeat it, it will still move on to the next stage. Because this is an initiative by people outside the elective position. It's promoted by the President and the Prime Minister, but the ideas came from the people. So those elected have really limited way of informing what is eventually done. And that is why the decision as to whether we do away with this document or we move on with it is crucially at the referendum point. And I want to tell you that that is actually when you will now see the politicians out. Forget about now. Now it is views you are getting here and there. But when this thing leaves the county assembly, comes to Parliament and gets the signature from the president, thrown back to IBC for them to organize the referendum, then, because the crucial decision will be made by people who can actually pass it or defeat it, because they are the originators of it. That is when it will be crucial. And I can tell you that's the stage many of us are waiting for. Because then we will be able to go and say, we think it is good, it should be passed, or X, Y, Z, and I believe that this is a good document, and it helps us manage the country better than we are doing now.
We take a quick commercial break. As we come back, we'll be looking into some of these crucial matters that are going to be discussed at the county assemblies, and why some people, some opinion shapers think that this has to be plugged or this has to be added. Remember to engage us on our SMS number, which is 22167. Keep it on CAT TV.
The Bible should play the most important role in the life of a Christian regarding making decisions, major or minor. God gave humankind a freedom of choice between numerous possibilities, but the basic choice is between good and evil. Bibles are now available at the PCA head office bookshop, South C, Nairobi. We have Bibles available in English, Kiswahili, and Kikuyu. Make your purchase today. For more information, call 0722 205051.
Organize your work and schedules easily by keeping a diary. Get yourself custom-made and informative diaries for the year 2021 at PCA Headquarters Bookshop. Management-sized diaries are available for only 1,500 Kenya shillings per piece, and pocket diaries for 150 Kenya shillings per piece. 2021 calendars are also available for 150 Kenya shillings only. For more information, call us on 07222 05051 or visit us at PCA Jitegemea House, Mohoa Avenue, South C, Nairobi. Family is God's greatest masterpiece.
And I do not know why the Bible says that a woman will be divorced for immorality, but it is silent on whether the man should be divorced for immorality.
You don't choose your family. They are a gift to you. But what are the challenges facing our families today?
This child can be sexually molested within marriage.
So anytime he comes home at 2 a.m., just go to your knees Now you lose your husband, you're not going to gain him.
Many of them have gotten messed up because you want to meet your needs.
Here on Transforming Families, we delve into matters that are difficult.
What do children think when they see that mom has 2 other lovers?
Viewed as hard and confusing in marriages and families.
There's a time you used to be in, huyo ni bibi ya DC. And people will not touch bibi ya DC. Huyo ni bibi ya chief. Huyo ni mke wa mwalimu.
Don't miss Transforming Families, Saturdays at 8 p.m. only on CAC TV.
Welcome back and many thanks for keeping it here on Powerbrief on CAC TV. And just to read some of your comments here, we have Wanjoy KE. He says he's watching from PCA Imani Kiungani Parish. Many thanks. Martha Solomon is tuned. We say thanks. Lucy Wangui Njagi says she's tuned from Nyeri. Many thanks. We have Paul Gishuki watching all the way from Naivasha town. Thank you very much. And John Bai is asking Mheshimiwa Kioni, how do we help separate the BBI and the 2022 politics? We'll answer it later. And then Lucy Wangui Njagi talks of very insightful people need to accept or reject BBI from point of knowledge. Read the document. Now, gentlemen and lady, before we went for a commercial break, there is something here, Mr. Philip, that Mheshimiwa mentioned, which is going to happen if actually the BBI will go through. That is a hybrid system of government where we have the Prime Minister and at the same time we have a President. And here the BBI talks of the President will be elected from a majority, the Prime Minister will be elected from a majority party. So here we have Mheshimiwa Kioni running for presidency in Party K. And then Philip is running, is coming also with another party which will produce majority members of parliament. How do we help such a situation? He has won the presidential contest. You've won with the majority of members of parliament. How do you form the government there? And in fact, this is actually giving a lot of people a headache.
I agree with Mheshimiwa that what we are going to have if we are to go that direction would not be really a parliamentary system. It will be a quasi-parliamentary system, or what is referred to as semi-presidentialism. And in that case, you have a president as it is proposed, who is popularly elected, and then a prime minister appointed in the manner that is being proposed. Now, it is very likely that we will get in the same problems that we are trying to cure. Because, as you've mentioned, it is also very possible that the president's party has the majority in parliament. And it is also possible that you would have the president and the prime minister coming from the same faction, possibly even tribe. It is very possible, because if you have people who have the same political following within a certain political faction, you have a president, and then the person who follows him as a matter of course is the prime minister who comes from the same tribe. I mean, we will not have really solved
whatever we are trying to.
And what we are trying to solve, and what the argument has been, that the loser of the presidential election should not be left out. It is very possible that that loser will still be left out, as is the case now. My view of our performance with the system that we had with the 2010 constitution is this: that the handlers of this system failed that system. Because for me, the clear separation of roles, of powers that we got with the 2010 constitution was very ideal, at least in our circumstances. Yes, we had a system that we had used for a very long time. We had actually gotten used to the system. I saw a discussion in Parliament some time back, and the MPs were saying it is very difficult to oversight the executive because they are not sitting in the House. But I think there are ways in which we could have we could have compromised, including with the standing orders of Parliament, to have Parliament, oversight without having those people sitting in Parliament. So for me, it's not a failure of the 2010 constitution system. It is a failure of the people that managed that system, because in the place where we were supposed to see, technocrats sitting in cabinet and people who understood what they were supposed to do, we still had that political overlap. In the case where now Parliament was supposed to completely oversight the executive and the judiciary, we had the executive, trying to intermeddle into the affairs of the National Assembly and the Senate. So it is not really the system, it is the handlers of the system. We might get this system that we want to get, or the proponents of the BBI amendment want us to have, but we are still the same people. It's still us Kenyans. So
still on you, Mr.
Yes.
Philip. There's something in law called the principle of legality, and also the separation of powers, which I know Mheshimiwa has been fighting for. The other day he was almost on my neck when I talked of taking some functions to the president. He was talking of the separation of powers. From Nyokabi's sentiments and also from what BBI is proposing, as the video is being played, we realize that something is coming up that might end up making the MCAs and the county executives to be again on each other's neck. Let's have the video briefly, and then now we have a brief discussion concerning that matter of the separation of powers, just the one you've talked about.
Fund. Katika hicho kipengele, Ward Development Fund itakuwa inatumika kwa mambo mawili. Kwanza ni county functions. Schedule 4. All the county functions in Schedule 4, you can use the Ward Development Fund on that, which is good. Madaraja, barabara, and kuna mambo madogo madogo yanasumbua watu wetu kule. Really, really good for us. County functions can now be used, the Ward Fund can be used for county function. But number 2, which is even more critical for all of us, ni zile tunaita Article 43 rights. The right to health, the right to education, the right to housing, the right to food, the right to social security, all the Article 43 rights. Sasa pale kwenye ward, with the Ward Development Fund, unaweza kufanya maswala ya hospitali, unaweza kufanya laboratory, unaweza kufanya dental unit. Na sijui kama kwenyu ni kama kwetu. Mimi nikija Nairobi hapa, sijui kwa nini watu wa ushago atupatiwangi dentist. Na hata si tuko na meno, surely. Meno is not just in Nairobi. Meno, we all have teeth, that need a dentist to keep looking at. But now we don't even have dentists at home.
Thank you. Now, Celestine, back to you and the entire panel. Here is a situation whereby we have a governor, we have a CC for health, and then we have an MCA. Sorry, or an MP. I could have used you as an example, but you're at a higher level. Now, there's that Ward Development Fund, which has come. An MCA wakes up early in the morning, goes maybe to construct a particular, maybe a laboratory or a dispensary. Tomorrow, CEC for Health comes in that particular village or ward again with another project. Aren't we trying to now jump from from frying pan to fire, in that instead of now making services to be more closer to the people, but we're now creating more avenues for bureaucracies and infights?
First, I wouldn't completely say this is a totally bad thing, because you see the Ward Development Funds, they're coming from at least 5% of the revenue the county is collecting, and that money is supposed to go back to the people. What the problem shall be, where people are, the bureaucrats, is where someone feels more entitled. Maybe I'm the governor, I'm the CC Health, I'm the one who's supposed to be in charge. But if they work together, because they are in the same government, these developments will serve the board members, those people they've been elected there. Because if the governor builds a laboratory here and they come here and also build maybe the funeral home, you see, it is going to serve this. What shall be important is how do they agree on using this money. What shall be, if I am supposed to come the MCAs now, if you're the person who's in charge of this fund, you now decide this is what the county shall do, and this is what the county shall do, and this is what the MCAs shall do. That way, it will benefit the people. But if it comes to where we are at today, where it is, I want publicity, it is us versus, it is between us, we are fighting, the infighting, then we shall not see any development. And that money which is supposed to go back to the people, maybe we're even giving corruption another chance. We're even increasing, if now the MCAs are not getting money and now they have millions. For example, let's say Nairobi has generate a lot of revenue and they're getting 5%, which is going to be a lot of money. That one will be creating another avenue of corruption. That is something else that has to be looked at. Are we just bringing in more problems, or are we coming to solve and give solutions to these people?
Many things. Something else, Mheshimiwa here, you as the chair of this crucial committee in the National Assembly, and I know you're a proponent of the Building Bridges initiative, is this thing of the boundaries and also additional constituencies and the matters to do with the gender. It's giving a lot of people headache, and probably as a panel you could try to shed light on this matter, where there is this proposal that after the election there are those regions and umekuwa unaona mtu anasimama mahali anasema mnataka kupinga hiki kitu na hata nyinyi ndio mnaenda kubenefit wengi to get more constituencies. Some of these debates. Now, the duty or the constitutional mandate either to add or to reduce the numbers of constituencies legally, from a little knowledge of law, is a duty of the IBC. But again, this proposal is coming like something buying clothes before a kid is born. How do you intend to achieve this? And can you shed light? Is our government, is our economy in a position to go and sustain these additional numbers of the members of parliament, and also the criteria? Are we going back to the one man, one shilling thing through another door? Through
the window. Now,
through the roof.
Through the roof. The roof must be leaking. But allow me to just say one thing before on the issue that has been raised by Philip. A very crucial thing that Kenyans needs to know, BBI is providing. If BBI passes, and I have faith it will pass, what it means 2022 is when you are going to vote, casting your vote for your member of parliament, remember that that member of parliament can be appointed a prime minister. Because prime minister will be appointed from members of parliament. That member of parliament can also be appointed as a deputy prime minister, because that opportunity is also availed to the deputy prime ministers, though they can also come from outside of parliament. But crucially also that cabinet, the ministers like we used to know them, will also be appointed from the members of parliament whom you elect. So as you cast your vote for Philip, this BBI is also telling us to do what we have not done since 2013 and 2017. Assess the quality of the person you are voting for into parliament. Without doubt, that used to be done under the previous management than now, because if you now bring in a person who cannot qualify to even, he can't even attract the attention of people who would be looking for an assistant minister, that's a disservice to your own area. So that's one of the things that is crucial to people, 2022. And equally, that when you are voting in a member of the county assembly, MCA, that member has the capacity of being a CEC, because that is also going to happen. The MCAs will also be appointed as members of the county assembly. So again, an opportunity for us to improve the quality of people we elect into leadership in this country. If you elect somebody who has corruption issues, who has had, a past that is heavy, then as a community, as a constituency, as people from that county, then you are saying you are not likely to have a voice in the executive through appointments, other than perhaps through representation. And I also want to comment on the issue of the word fund. This word fund that has been mentioned, two things that are important. One is that it is percentage of money collected by the county. What does that mean? Counties will also be now encouraged to generate revenue because you collect and it is also used. The other good thing about that proposal is that the Senate has been given the mandate to oversight that money. That was not there under the old constitution. Counties were collecting money and using without anybody oversighting. Now the Senate has been mandated to oversight money collected as revenue from the counties. And without doubt, the act that will manage the ward fund is going to be done from Parliament. So the issues that we have raised, very pertinent issues of collision, overlaps, misuse, are issues that must be addressed at the point of drafting or passing the issue of the ward fund act or bill. And that then allows me to talk about the issue of the extra constituencies. It is not the mandate of IEBC to increase constituencies.
Reviewing the boundaries.
It is the mandate of IEBC to review the boundaries within the number that has been provided for in the Constitution. As it is today, the Constitution provides for 290. The review was due 2018, allowed it to happen by latest 2024. So when I called the IEBC to my committee on this issue, and they did raise a number of issues, and they said one is that we need a better census. So we had to wait for 2019 census, which was done, and we now have it, 2019. Two, and they cautioned us, is that under the Constitution of 2010, we created a number of constituencies, to be exact, 27 of them, which are protected. Why were they protected? Because they did not meet the criteria of that is required for you to survive as a constituency. And unfortunately or fortunately, one of the constituency is called Daragwa. And I happen to represent Daragwa constituency. So I was in Parliament, likely to be the last member of Parliament from that area, because if we were not going to do something, Daragwa was going to be erased from the map, alongside other 26 constituencies. And those 26 constituencies, 9 of them are in the coastal region. 6 are in central Kenya. Another 6 are in Rift Valley. There is 4 in western Kenya, and there is 2 6 in central, another 6 in northeastern, 4 in western Kenya, and I think 2 in Rift Valley or so. 4 in Rift Valley or 2 in western. The total is 27. So if we did not do anything to the Constitution as it was, 27 constituencies were going to disappear and re-emerge in other areas that are more populous than where we come from. That was going to create instability in the country. And Chebukati himself did mention that and said, this is an explosive issue. You people would rather address it from a statutory point of view. And of course, BBI came up with a better arrangement that let's address it from a constitutional point of view. If we don't amend the Constitution, we cannot be able to save the 27 constituencies. Not saving those 27 constituencies is actually making it very difficult for those Kenyans in those areas, because services are removed from them and taken a little bit further. For example, in the case of Daragwa, we would now have to move to Ojororok. Anybody wanting Basale would have to move to Ojororok, and others would move to Okipipiri, because we do not have a member of parliament near them. So these are some of the things that are really compelling and really persuasive, because you have to do that. So now we have the issues of boundaries that must be done by IEBC, but they will be done to create 360 constituencies. But also in the Senate, we have created two senators per county, and the other senator will be a person of the opposite gender, women, to try and sort out the issue that is before us. Because, we are forgetting that as we sit here today, we have an order from the Supreme Court, perhaps an advisory opinion, but it's actually an order from the Supreme Court that Parliament as constituted is unconstitutional. We are only in Parliament because we were able to obtain a stay. And if we do not tinker with the constitution to make sure that we are able to fulfill that requirement, we've tried all formulas and none of them seems to have been working. So one of the things that required to be done was to amend the constitution, that particular article, and come up with a solution. And many solutions were
summary,
proposed.
Mheshimiwa,
So
to cut you short, at the end of this process, I've just heard you mention in 360 and I've seen my friend Philip ametetemeka kidogo because hiyo 360 ndio ulikuwa umeanzia kumaanisha kuna namba zingine pia zitaongezwa hapo. Where do you want, or how many members, both of the National Assembly and the Senate, do you envision to achieve at the end of this process, suppose this BBI goes through?
The total we have
in one sitting that each and every
400,
has attended.
as we see today, we have 468. The proposed BBI is 454. There will be the top-up that will be done for 2 terms only, and that will be over. Even the top-up that is done at the county assembly is now for 2 terms. So unlike the old constitution of 2010, we now have what we call the sunset clause. We know when we will stop doing these things that are irritating us. So we would end up with 454 as opposed to the 468 that we have today. So when you work with the absolute number, we end up with a lesser size of parliament.
So
but for 2 terms, there will be a top-up depending on how Kenyans treat the women gender during the elections. There will be that top-up to help with the affirmative action. But unlike the other constitution,
that is where my interest,
just
and I think Celestine also interest, and Philip is also there.
But unlike the constitution we have today, we now know that top-up is only for 2 terms. The other one we were going to struggle, and even for the county assembly, it will only be for 2 terms. So by latest 2032, there will not be any more top-up. We would have done away with the issues.
So the interest is not there. I'm coming back to you.
Just on the issue of top-up, given our political realities and our societal realities, it is very possible that we could have 550 members of parliament, because it is again a likelihood that in the coming elections you would get 430 men in parliament. That is a possibility, and for you to top up, you must balance. So the more men there are, the more women you need to add for you to come to that balance of 2/3. And that is why I personally have an issue with, even though it will be for 10 years, my issue is not really with the gender issue and the top-up. My issue is with the representation, and basically because we pay our elected leaders too much. I think that is something that I have come to a conclusion about, that the amounts of money that go towards sustaining our elected leaders is beyond reasonable, in my opinion. If you compare us across the continent and basically across the world, I mean, our parliamentarians, our elected leaders are I think, Mheshimiwa, you are the most, you are the best paid.
I really want across, to get into that topic
across the globe.
Because it is always exaggerated.
Yes, for me, that is quite an issue, especially given our economic position as at now. That is one. 2, when we're talking about the World Development Fund and now there's a CDF, I do not understand the obsession with the elected representative having a certain kitty. I understand that, you know, people come to you daily. They want this, they want this, they want this. But if we really utilize the resources that we have had over time, it will not be a necessity to have an MCA having, you know, that kitty. I mean, the county government can actually do those things without the MCA having something to carry about. And over time, we have seen some individuals misuse, you know, those kitties. They would want to, you know, take development in a certain area that supported them and not in another one. So I think that misuse. And it's not really about now the fund. It is addressing, you know, the capacity and the caliber of individuals that we elect into office, and addressing also us as a society, the kind of people that we front to office and the kind of people that we elect.
Thank you, Philip. Now, because our time is up.
answer him something. I don't think the problem is actually the money that actually is at the levels of whether it be at the county level or the national level. It is the misuse that is the problem. That we all agree upon. So if that money was used wisely, even if more money was pumped and it was used wisely, no one would complain about that money being there. So it is upon our leaders and us, the leaders we elect, are they able to handle this money? And if someone has been found with misused that money, do not give that person a chance even to want to vie. Take that person, whenever that person is out, I don't want to name names, but we all know the one person was a governor here in Nairobi, but he's trying to get another maybe seat somewhere else. And if there you can even find he has a following, and you are left to wonder why. It is not the issue of giving the money. It is the problem with the misuse and us allowing the misuse of those funds. That is the problem.
Many thanks. Now, as we come to the home stretch, there is something here that I will really wish all of you to mention just as a parting shot to tonight's topic, because time has caught up with us. We shall continue next week. We have this thing here. There are those who are admitting that indeed we have a problem, including those ones that are opposing the BBI. Wanasema as a country, we have a problem, but we do not need BBI as at now. There are those ones who says, yes, we have a problem and we need it as soon as yesterday. In fact, we are late about it. From your legal and your leadership experiences, I'll begin from that end coming this way. Mr. Philip, what do we do? Because like even we were seeing some of the leaders talking yesterday, they were talking like this thing has stayed for too long. It's compared even to pregnancy or something. People have waited and they're saying it's even eliciting higher political temperatures in the country. What do we do finally? Because next week we shall continue looking into some of these crucial matters. But what do you think should be done?
I think for me, principally, I will tackle the office of the citizen. And thankfully, Mheshimiwa Kioni's committee came up with the referendum, then the referendum bill. And in that piece of legislation, there was they suggested referendum committees. And if citizens were to really engage, because don't just wait for the referendum to come. Yes, the county assemblies might pass this thing, but engage. There is an opportunity for you to engage on this document before the whole country can now come to the ballot and then say they're either agreeing to what has been proposed or not. If we do not participate as actively, including those who are opposed to this document, I personally am opposed to the document, but I would want to have an active engagement, a thorough engagement of this document, so that people will not be passing the constitutional amendment just because they belong to a certain political faction. That would be unfortunate. And you will not just be saying no because you support a certain politician. So a thorough engagement by the citizenry is important. That is the only way we can then say whatever will have come out of the referendum will be a Kenyan document, whether there will be opposition or whether it will be supported fully.
Thank you, Philip. Celestine, everyone is saying, like, in the morning when someone was asking me, what are you going to discuss, blah, 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 then when I was telling the person, enough of our problems, tell us what we should do. So I am tasking you also, tell us what should we do. Philip has said he's opposed to the document, but that should not stop the conversation from going on. It's time we converse, trying to find a way forward and maybe probably save the country.
One thing is we should all read the document first. Two, we should now balance the good and the bad. Sometimes even the previous constitution 2010, we were saying 20% of it is not so good, but it passed nevertheless, and it has been serving us, and it has been a very good document. For me, I say first we need to actualize that document in its totality. Most of even the clauses have not been met. For this BBI, for me, it has very many bad things, grave things, because what affects the Mwananchi directly should be first the justice and the police and the legislature. And if those things are not serving you, you should actually think twice about this document. I advise the general, all common Mwananchi, please read the document. First find out, is it all good, is it all bad? And then that way, because you have to reject it in totality or accept it in totality.
Let's also hear from Mheshimiwa, from the tension that Philip has created, and also you here. We want to... Mheshimiwa, before you say something, I want to get from you whether the trend should continue, because I'm not so sure whether Mheshimiwa can dance reggae.
You are trying
Should it
to pull
continue?
my leg.
But as you make your parting shot, there is Richard Kimathi here. In summary, we'll also answer him. We should not lock him out. He's saying what criteria will be used to give out the 35% to the counties if they will be available, since Kenya debt is increasing daily and we need to pay it. It's 1 man, 1 shilling, or which one? You talked about it last week, but you can mention it briefly as we come to the end of the show. In summary.
One is that why the CDF and the World Fund cannot move away from the documents is that, and we were seated with Dr. Uburu just before I came here, and he said, I've been in Parliament for more than 24 years. And during those days when there was no CDF, I could not trace any iota of development in my area. So the bad side of CDF is completely outweighed by the fact that you are able to see, and now the World Fund, you're able to see development getting nearer the people. So we will have to deal with the bad elements that misuse the money, and but we have tried these systems, and the one with the fund, the wards and the constituency development fund seems to have given us more benefits. And the rest. But even as you are taking me to the issue, and again, when we say 35, you may take these two things together. When we say 35%, it is not 35% of a new figure. It is 35% of the same amount of money that is available, the one we still have. We are not saying something else that will come. This was 15%.
So it is,
just a minute, it was 15% was going to the counties now, of the same bottle. Now we are saying 35%. So if we are correcting this, we were correcting this X, we are just increasing the amount that goes to the county, not anything else. We are not saying that it's more money that we are. If we collect more, then much more will go, but the percentage will be the same. That is one thing that is we are losing. So I want to encourage people, and look at it. Look at it. This is the second sitting that I've had with this Powerbrief, the CAC. Look at the civility of the debate. Why is it that we can't have this in other stations? We have people insulting one another. We
are setting the agenda.
We have a gentleman who is not, I would certainly preach to him. I know by the time we get down, he will start supporting it. And we have, we are able to bring out these things.
You've left out the presenter.
Of course, you are the one in charge of all of us. But I'm trying to say that look at the way things can be done differently, and you don't need to go out of this country. It is us to decide. Yes, I support it. I have many of the things we wanted to do as committee are contained in the BBI. But we have young people who are also having their views in a very civil manner, in a very civilized manner. This is what the country needs. This is the kind of debate that we want, not just on the BBI, but all issues. And I think everybody, including the churches, should encourage this kind of thing, so that the culture of disagreeing in a civil manner, in a civilized manner, also gets root. But this one of fighting, punching the tarmac, going all over, stealing, so that you look like you are the one who should be elected.
In 2
the
seconds,
church
Mheshimiwa,
should also be able to be
up,
seen to be condemning
You've spoken
that.
something good, giving credit to my brother Philip and also my sister here, and also the ones who were here last week. Do you believe, or do you think that
and of course
the government has invested a lot when it comes to messaging, especially on these matters of BBI, because you're even bringing out very important things here, like it will be 35% of the bottle, but that one has never been said anywhere. Have you invested much in communication on these matters, yes or no?
Yes, but the time of messaging had not arrived, because we are still waiting for the county assemblies to do what they should do before we hit the road with the messaging to the Mwananchi. But I agree that perhaps you should have started a little bit earlier, because those who are in the Phillips corner were more aggressive than us. So we have some work to do.
Many thanks, Celestine, and many thanks, Philip. These are advocates of the High Court of Kenya, and just from their admissions and also from your admissions, the debate has been so much insightful to an extent that it makes you understand, including the so-called 35% headache. Philip Mwangale, Celestine Njagi, and Honorable Jeremiah Kioni have taken their time tonight, having left their comfort to be here just to ensure that you are able to get information on matters regarding law and the BBI debate which concerns you. Remember, if you don't involve yourself in politics, then politics will involve itself in you and the outcome might not be pleasing to you. We appreciate your overwhelming responses on our social media platforms and also on our SMS number. From me, Cornelius Omusa, and the entire Powerbrief production team, we promise that such a debate and such a conversations will continue taking place in this show, both within and without. Till next Thursday, I wish you a very good night.